I want to make sure everyone is seeing the PowerPoint of those that are sitting next to a computer. It's the evolution of how to sell hosted utilizing TAG and the Zultys provided equipment. I want to emphasize that this is a TAG member only program. This is a program that nobody else in the industry has. It's a program that is exclusive. We don't know any one company or entity that's been able to provide this kind of a package to their members or their dealers or to the marketplace. We do realize, however, that at some point in time, this product will be replicated, because when you see what we're doing here and you see the value that you bring not only to your end user, but the value you bring to your company and the value you bring to the person selling it, it's one of the most revolutionized campaigns that has been brought to hosted. We're going to spend just a little bit of time going through how we've evolved to this point. As you know, TAG, a number of years ago, started presenting hosted as an option. And as anything that is new technology, it takes time, it takes resources to implement, and you always have some difficult challenges beginning and moving forward. But we knew we would get through that, as with every technology that we've ever implemented. But we wanted to make sure that we had a program from on the street, and a program that's successful that says, here's how you sell it. The Voice Smart Networks, which is one of the reasons that they were, acquired and became a partner with TAG, is so that we could get feet on the street, get practical experience, get real life experience. And we went through a number of iterations in evolving our program to where it is today. We presently, right now, are receiving just under $13,000 a month in reoccurring revenue. We have, a fair number of seats. We've had a lot of success with it. We monitor what we're doing, how we're doing, what it's costing us, and we believe that our numbers are working pretty good. So we have commissions coming in of roughly, like I say, $15,000 a month, and that comes in every month. And that is from the hosted programs that we put together. So when we first started this, I'm going to go through and say what and how we evolved to being competitive in the marketplace. We have a 95% close ratio on every hosted deal that we go out on. And I want you to understand, some of you on this call today aren't really heavily involved in hosted, but every manufacturer has moved to a hosted platform. When you read the reports and you read the studies, it's a growing entity that will continue to grow, and it will dominate what we do as a business owner. This program will have the highest commissions of any program that's out there based on how we structured it. I'll explain how we've done that for you. But the first thing that we want to take a look at is I want to talk about the competitive factors that you have that your competition will not have. Having a single bill that includes everything except carrier services has become a real competitive advantage in selling this. Customers today are looking for single entities to deal with to handle everything that they need to have handled. And when we talk about hosted, right, the challenge that we've had in the past is that we have the services and we have the product, and we've never been able to marry those two together on a single bill. We now have that ability to do that. So we got services are provided, and the equipment's being provided. The other challenge that we've had in this hosted rise is that there's a lot of companies that came out with what they call their single brand or wholesale programs. And what would happen is that you end up doing the billing. And as we all know, and I know Neil will talk to this a little later, but in order to bill, you need to be pretty much a LEC. And to be a LEC takes a tremendous amount of capital investment. And we've seen a number of our tag members that were doing billing, and the government came in, and we've seen fines as high as $60,000 of being billing incorrectly, even though they did everything that they knew how to do to bill. So we've always felt there's been a liability for our tag members billing the customer and collecting taxes. Zultys, because they are elect, because they've taken the hosted platform seriously, has built in all the safeguards, and they will take on the responsibility of not only billing, but collecting and distributing the taxes. Now, that takes a tremendous amount of risk away from us as tag members. So we've got a competitive factor that you have a single bill, and you have the liability has basically been removed for billing the customer in the tax situation. The next competitive advantage is that contracts. Over the years, and when we first started this, we started out with, a 3-year contract, and then we said, well, can we do a 1-year contract? And then driving home one day, we asked the question, well, what happens at the end of 3 years? Or what happens at the end of 1 year? At the end of that contract, what happens? And the only thing that we can come up with is that, well, when the contract expires, we put ourselves at risk. The customer looks at us and says, oh, I'm in a contract. Maybe I should go look for other services. What else is out there? What's the pricing that's going to occur? And we forced our customers to re-examine what they were doing. And we said, well, wait a second. If the product works, and if it's doing everything that we said it was going to do, why would they ever change? So we then went to and said, you know what, we're going to go to a month-to-month contract. And this is the weapon that we use against the ShoreTels, the MyTels, any hosted carrier services that are out there, is that they're still thinking that they need contracts, to have justification of what their value of their company is worth and so forth. We've been selling hosted now for just at 4 years. 3.5 years, we have been selling it where we have been supplying the equipment, and we've been doing it on a month-to-month contract now for close to 3.5 years. And we do not see companies moving away from us. Even when we had the meltdown of some of the technology, we were able to shift a number of our customers, and the percentage of loss that we've had has been minuscule. But the risk of losing that account, the tag organization has pretty much taken on that responsibility, and we're doing that based on the numbers that we see there. Here's what we know, is that when someone puts in a service, statistically, nothing's going to change here for 7 to 8 years. So you have a 7 to 8 year run, and we have a program that we believe that will even create a longer connection point with the customer than that. And that's by going with month to month. On the sales side, it's the most competitive advantage that you have of selling to somebody saying, well, here, what we want to do is we want to eliminate risk from you. The company that you're talking to is asking you to sign a 3-year contract, and they will enforce that contract whether they provide you good service, bad service, or indifferent service. Right? You don't have the legal wherewithal to fight the AT&Ts, the CBONs, the Telepacifics, and they are accustomed to enforcing the contracts that they put out there. We feel that that's not a proper way to deal with business. We are in your business every month. If we're not providing the right service, if we're not doing what we're supposed to do, right, you have no obligation to pay us other than a you know what? That has been absolutely a hammer in this industry. And it will continue to be that way because people and companies do things. They don't know why they do things, but they do them because that's how we do business. The other thing that happens is that, all those companies will face the fact that at the end of their contracts, they got to go back out and have resources to go back out and resell those contracts. You don't need to do that. So that's a very, very heavy competitive factor that we built into this program. And once again, I'm telling you, this is a program that it's not theory. It's been on the street. It works, and it's been very effective. The next phase that we bring into it, when we first start seeing people self-hosted, we sat back and said, boy, they don't really get what they're trying to do here. Is that we as tag members and you as owning a company, you want to own that customer, you want to have contact with that customer, and you want to provide those services for the customer. And we saw a number of companies and a lot of our competition saying that, oh yeah, with hosted, they're going to give you free upgrades. They're going to give you full service. They're going to do all these things for you because they're in the cloud and they have, as they build their platform and moving forward, they have to do that platform and, you're always going to have current technology. And we looked at that and said, well, why are we giving that credit to the service provider of the hosted product? Why would we do that? So we took the CTAP form and we eliminated the refresh on it. And we said, in our sales process, we said, by providing the equipment, here's what we will provide to you because we have provided the equipment. And this is the same identical thing, our service program, VoiceSmart Network truly partners with its customers to ensure that the technology provided today can be renewed, refreshed, and replaced as required, and that its partners will have emerging technologies become available and needed. Our service program makes available the latest and most efficient technology to serve your business needs. Our service program provides a new industry standard for consultation, education, special services, allowing the technology to actually make a difference in your business. So, the greatest innovation ensures your increased profitability and your costs we can fix throughout the program. And this is where you go back to the ROI side of this transaction. And in the sales training that we have, how to sell hosted, all right, we show where you're paying X amount of dollars, you're now going to pay X amount of dollars, or the same dollars or less dollars, and we've done two things. We've taken the two risks away from technology. One is obsolescence. This program takes away obsolescence, and we fix your cost. We also waive remote labor charges when equipment is added or replaced under the service program. We waive remote labor charges associated with software upgrades added under the service program. Now, what we've done here, we've just given a little bit of twist, all right? We're saying VoiceSmart Network is doing this. We're not saying Zultys, Freedom IQ, ShoreTel, whatever service. We're saying you as an entity are providing these services. And all we've done now is taken the Schedule 2 and say, here's what you get with our provided service and equipment package. We're going to give you priority queuing at our Partnership Operations Center. Designation, key strips as needed. Priority scheduling for add, moves, and changes. User guides upon request. Priority dispatch on all service calls. Unlimited training. Guarantee of inventory on hand that if a phone breaks or something happens or if a router needs to be replaced, we're not going to tell you, we need to order that. You got a problem, we come in, we replace it, and there's no charge for no trouble found on any of the service calls. We do software-only upgrades. We do audits of your local, long distance, recommendations upon request, your internet bills. We constantly keep a look and making sure that the carriers are billing you correctly. We give you a preferred service and replacement of defective equipment for factory recommendations. And we do a service provider bill reconciliation. We monitor your equipment 24/7, 365 days a year proactively. We do semi-annual backups, archiving systems, databases were actionable. And then we come in once a year and we do an annual preventive maintenance and take a look at the racks and where you're located, what you're doing. And then we also do an annual analysis of connectivity charges as part of our service to you. We waive charges for no problems found from the carriers. We waive remote labor charges with software upgrades. We do remote service support calls via telephone or emails during normal business hours. And we waive remote labor charges when the equipment is added or replaced. Now, what we've done here, Mr. Customer, is no matter what goes on, no matter what happens, you will not see an additional invoice from our company or our service provider. It is a single bill. Everything is included. We don't know how we would ever generate another invoice to you. What we do is we take away the stress, the strain, we protect you from obsolescence, and we fix the cost of this program. So,
hey, Dan, can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so everything you're putting is remote. Am I just misreading this? If it's on site, it's also free?
No, everything we do is free. But we have to go out to the site. We can't fix this thing remote. But I don't know how you would generate going on site with somebody. But sometimes you have a router, sometimes you have a firewall, sometimes you got to play with that. Sometimes you got to go with the carrier and the services and so forth. What we've done, Jerry, is no matter what the problem is, we will in fact go out there and take care of it. This is also a wedge that we've used. I got a customer right now. We sold them a hosted. They have an IT department that choked down and is not working the QoS, and we're in the process right now of replacing the IT department because of their inability to work with the phone side. We sat down with the customer and said, here's why you're having some challenges. Here's what you want. Here's what we are going to suggest. And oh, by the way, if we package everything, let me take a look at, and let me show you the reports that we do from an IT side. So it gives you an opportunity. Every time you can go see a customer, you get an opportunity to sell them something else. But once again, these programs we're saying that you can do anything you want to do with it. You want to charge from, charge from. Here's what I'm saying to you. Until I find somebody who sells more hosted than what we're selling, I don't really care to listen to them. I mean, we have a program that works. It's taken us 3 to 4 years to define the program. I got a 95% close ratio on any deal that I go out that it's hosted. I don't lose to any other hosted provider, ever. It just doesn't happen. And the reason that we do it is all these fine points that we built into this thing. And then, Jerry, the other thing that I do is I look at the end of the month, we look at our productivity reports, we see how much time we're spending on hosted service calls, and it's like next to nothing. That $13,000 drops straight to the bottom line pretty much, in other than having to install it. And the other thing that we've done here is that you can charge for $45, and once again, you want to charge $1,000 a phone, it's okay. Zultys will bill that for us. They take a 7% billing transaction, because it does cost them to activate. And you got activation fees that are about $45. We're charging $45 for the activation fees. We give that to the salesperson. So the salesperson gets the $45 activation fee, and we give them 20% of whatever we receive from the transaction on a monthly basis. And once again, our guys are building reoccurring revenue. And that's what this program is all about. And I can go into a little deeper that what's happening in our industry is that you are going to compete against the agent marketplace throughout, whatever we're doing here. I'll use ShoreTel as an example. ScanSource just signed on as a national master agent, and so they're starting their agency program. a lot of the carriers are going to agent-type programs, and we got to compete against the agent program. So we've sort of given our salespeople a little bit more competitive advantage. Because here's what you don't have to do. I don't use the word rental, because we learned that if you use rental, eventually they look and say, why am I renting that? But if I use provided equipment and service program, and with that provided equipment, here's all the services you get, nobody questions it. They just, we find that they just pay for it as long as everything's working, as long as everything's doing what it's supposed to do, as long as you're taking care of your customer. You have that customer, for life. Now, do businesses go out of business? Absolutely. And what we've done with our program is that just go collect the equipment, get it back to us, we'll refurbish it and recycle it back into the system. At the end of 7 years, all right, and we're looking at this right now, but we're looking at our financial numbers, but we believe, at the end of a particular period of time, we're going to be able to go in there and come in with new phones, because it will keep that customer the next 7 years. So at the 5-year mark, 6-year mark, when we'll probably come in and say, oh, you know what, here's the new technology or the new phones, the new phone instruments that are out there. So so you have a basic understanding. I know we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but what we've done at TAG is that we have provided a pool of capital. And that pool of capital will allow us to purchase the equipment for you. And when you purchase that, when you sell the system, you go through the calculators. We put it on the TAG provided equipment Zultys program calculator. Your PoE switches, your routers, your firewalls, and your phone equipment are all provided to you on a monthly per unit charge that you will give to your customer. So let's say that you have 10 phones, and those 10 phones on a provided equipment are going to cost roughly about $150 a month. And that $150 a month now includes all this provided services that we bring to the customer. And then, the Zultys program, whatever, the 1, 2, or 3 level what Zultys is going to get into, you go to their calculator, you put it together, and it goes out to the customer as a single bill for the services. We do not break down to, that's another thing that we're finding, is that we do not break down to and say, we go, here's 10 phones, and, we don't do line item pricing. We do this the same way we do. We give a Schedule A, all the stuff that we're doing, and then we say, here's how much it costs you. It's $385 a month. And then they go back to the Schedule A. The Schedule A, they got PoE switches, they got routers, they have the services that we are provided, we have the software upgrades and so forth and so on. So we are developing a very extensive Schedule A that, geez, I get all this for $385, right? Boy, that makes a lot of sense to me. I fix my cost. I never see another invoice. I've gotten rid of obsolescence. And you know what? I can go do what I do best in my business rather than worry about my phone system. So TAG Capital is allowing you, and this is a challenge that we had at Voice Smart Networks, is that we're no different than any other TAG member. We were trying to self-fund the equipment because we've been providing equipment now for almost 2 years, and self-funding that got to be pretty challenging for us from a cash flow standpoint. And we said, wow, wouldn't it be great if we could have an entity that would give us the money so we could buy the equipment, get our return on the equipment on a monthly basis, and we didn't have to come up with any cash. And as a result of that, by coupling the services from Zultys and coupling the income from the provided equipment, you're running some pretty heavy commissions, and it's the highest commissions being paid in the industry today. And we think that this is going to be able to, give you a real economic charge and going into the economics of this program is that, if Zultys has a non-tag member, they can go out and they can pay for their phones and their PoE switches. They can sell it to the customer, where the customer has to come up with $3,000 to $5,000 to $6,000 capital to buy it. Or, some of them are saying, well, I'll rent it to you, but they're gonna run out of cash in doing that, and none of them have the creativity to do that, by the way. All right, so they typically will go out and they'll say, here's $6,000, and then here's the services to Zultys, and they end up with a single bill. They end up with two bills, one for the equipment and one for the services. And what they get 20% of the services that are being provided by Zultys. And that's a higher commission than a lot of the companies are paying, but here again, it's still only 20% of the services. Here's what the tag member gets. They get 20% of the hosted services rather than, the same as non-tag members, but they get an additional 5% additional rebate of the whole hosted services. So you get 25% of the commission on the services, and then you get 25% of the provided equipment billing. So that bill for $150 that's been rolled into the Zultys bill, you get 25% of that billing comes to you every month. And then once you exceed 300 seats, you get 30% of the hosted services, and you get 30% of the provided equipment billing. So you're sitting here with 30% of the total bill. Now, that's pretty high commissions based on a higher number that's going to the end user. So that's the same as being, if an end user is you're getting 30% on $150 from a hosted provider, which, by the way, we've never seen 30%, but say you get 30%, right? It's still less money than the tag Zultys program, because you're going to get 30% on the equipment side of it also. And the customer is sitting with a single bill and completely covered of anything that can occur here and move forward. So very, very high commission. And then here again, from a salesman standpoint, we give them 20% of what we receive, and then we've also built in the activation fee that gets passed back. So any billing that you do, you get it passed back to you minus a small percentage for billing. Yeah. So I'm gonna before I turn this over to Neil and Steve, just on this front part, I want to have everybody have an opportunity to ask any kind of question that you want to ask right now. So is there any question?
Dale, this is Gary. I have one question. These numbers look great. The one question that I have is, you mentioned early in the conversation a 7% billing transaction from Zultys. What is that 7% based on? Is that 7% based on the overall cost, or is it based on the overall equipment cost that we get? I mean, where's that 7% come from?
Okay, Bill, this is Neil. You want me to answer?
Yeah, Neil, go ahead.
Hi, Gary. Actually, it's 5% to tag members, so it's 7.5% to non-tag members, and it's only on additional items that you would add on to the billing. So if you wanted to add a professional services fee or an installation fee or anything like that that you wanted us to bill on a monthly basis, it's not on the phones, it's not on the hosted services.
So Gary, if you wanted to charge somebody $1,000 to install it, right, and you add that to the bill, Zultys will bill it, and then they'll charge you a 5% of that for our processing, which means they're not really making any money on it, because it costs them to process it, and all they're trying to do is cover the cost of processing that every month and sending you, the monthly payment.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, CG Frink, do you have any questions, CG?
No, I didn't catch all of it. I was getting interrupted with something else. But I mean, I think I got to look at one sheet. It seems pretty straightforward. So this includes all the Zultys equipment, correct?
Correct.
What about switches?
Yeah, the switches are included. You know, we got switches, we got routers, we got PoE switches, and that's all on the calculator that I believe is going to be finished up by the end of this week. And when you go into the portal, you'll see a tag Zultys transaction. You go to that calculator, and you'll see all the equipment, all the services, all the stuff that you need to complete the transaction, and then it'll also have a collapsible format that when you hand it to the customer, is that the customer will not see individual pricing. All they're going to see is a total number at the bottom, and they're going to sign off on it, and you process it. And when it goes into Zultys, is that they can open up the hidden columns and uncollapse it and do all the calculations that they need to do. So the customer's buying a single bill with a single price, like how we sell CTAP or how we sell financing.
Right. And what I think I got from Neil was that from a standpoint of our labor to install, that's over and above and billed separately, or
Yes, you can do that. We have a number of members that do in fact do that. VoiceSmart Network has not done that. And here again, it's a mindset. We believe that, get the deal, don't lose the deal. It's pretty competitive out there. It's getting more and more competitive. But you know what? If you're in a situation where you believe that you want to and you can charge, that's the other beautiful thing about the program with Zultys is that, charge whatever you want to charge them for anything outside of, the phones and so forth.
so you're saying that VoiceSmart charges nothing to install, and we still have to provision the system. In other words, we have a blank system. We have to provision it.
Yes, you provision it, you install it, you train it, you do everything that you do on a normal system.
And VoiceSmart does not charge for that.
No, I do not. But here again, that's what we chose to do. That doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just we happen to choose to do that. But at the same time, I don't know anybody else. I don't believe I know anybody else selling more hosted seats than what we're doing. So I don't know. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it's working for us. All right. I mean, I'm adding. Like I say, we're adding some pretty good numbers here every month, and I look at what it's costing me because we do keep the productivity reports, and we keep the hours by account. And when I look at the hours and what I'm putting into it and what I'm receiving, to me, I get a pretty good return. And here again, like I said, if you in a situation, they're giving you that flexibility. So, like I say, this is a pretty unique program. We're going to have other seminars. We're going to do financials. The financial side of this. We're going to take a look at what this does for your bottom line. Tim has been doing a fair amount of time and spending on this in the budgeting side of hosted on the budgetary side. We're looking at numbers. We're trying to set standards. No different than what we've set all along for our industry. We're now setting standards for this. But here's what we know. Nobody's given a single invoice, and no one's paying these kind of commissions as a result of what we're doing. So, we feel like once again, TAG has stepped up and really done something unique in the industry that allows our TAG members to be a lot more profitable than their competitors. So, if you don't handle this hosted, and when you don't understand the dynamics of hosted, all right, you cannot survive selling hosted for 20 or 17% or 20%. In our opinion, it will bankrupt you. So, you got to look at it. And what we're trying to do is build up some really strong recurring revenue for you. So I'm going to turn this. If there's no further questions, I'm going to turn this over to Neil to say a couple words, and then have them sort of spend a little bit more time on the detail side of their product. All right. So Neil, go ahead.
Thanks, Bill. I'm just going to talk for about a minute or so, and then I'll turn it over to Steve to go over details. But I'd like to take this opportunity, first of all, to thank TAG and the TAG members for the past 5+ years of this partnership, which I believe has just been great for all of us, and that we are extremely excited about the opportunity that this program presents to the TAG members. As a matter of fact, I'm so excited that when I woke up this morning, I decided to make it even more lucrative for TAG members. So where we showed a 20% hosted service revenues, we're going to increase that to 25% for sales made in 2015. So it's going to be, in essence, TAG member will be able to receive 35% on the hosted services, and I don't think anybody in the industry is paying anywhere near that in recurring revenue commissions to any of their partners. So if that didn't excite you, then I can tell you it excited me, and I'm giving money away, and Neil doesn't normally give money away. So
Neil, why don't you just start the talk first and not let Dale speak, because we keep making more money the more you talk.
Oh, okay, Jerry. In that case, I'm going to shut up, so I don't have any more money to give you. But I think that's pretty exciting to be able to make that kind of recurring revenue commissions. So with that, let me give it to Steve, and Steve can tell you why you should be using our hosted services. So Steve, it's all yours.
Okay, thanks, Neil. Thanks, Dale. Thanks all of you guys for being here today. So we talked about hosted. Why hosted? Well, that's so you can make more money. Why Zultys? Well, also to make more money. But I think there's several factors here that y'all should consider when looking at us as a hosted provider. First is the business plan. All right, we build our business plan around the channel. We think that you can build your business plan around our product offering. Second factor is reliability. We'll talk more about the data center in a little bit. We've got some differentiating factors with our competitors. It's simplicity in pricing and flexibility in our offering. So let's just sort of take this one by one. Many of you are already carry the product and are familiar with it, but let's start with this. MX is our product, right? It doesn't matter whether it's on an appliance or whether it's on the server. What we think we have here is an offering. It's the same product. You can buy it, you can rent it, and I apologize for saying the word rent now, but you can. So you've got one product to offer, one product to train, one product to teach, one product to know, one product to service, and one product to support. And it doesn't matter whether that's the product that you installed in somebody's closet or the product that's running on our server in our data center. So let's take a look at the data center and talk about redundancy and reliability. State-of-the-art data center. The data center itself is fully redundant. All of the power and air conditioning and all of that sort of thing, all of the firewalls and routers and all of the data center stuff is fully redundant in the center. Our product, our servers are fully redundant in that they use VMware so that if a particular server in the data center fails, it will fail over to an alternative server or alternative set of cores within the same server. Then in addition to that, with multiple data centers, we have the ability for geographic failover. So this is a full 24/7, 365-day operation. It should provide all of the reliability that your end users would expect. Okay, so why is Zultys over a competitor? We're going to start with this. When you look at the competitors in the hosted world, the vast majority of them are broad-salt or Metaswitch products. So the vast majority of them, whether it's NextDiva or Telesphere or Ring Central or Five Nines, their feature functionality tends to be very similar. So their ability to compete in the marketplace is either price or customer service. Our approach to this was to offer more for the money because our feature functionality content simplicity, so we're pricing by user, not device. And I mentioned that earlier, a factor for us is a simplistic approach. And then our standard, so look at it right away. Our standard user package, which is a user license and a mobility license, gives you full featured PBX functionality, including HDD. And then a premium user is even more robust. And I'll cover these the different user types later in the presentation. Okay, so everybody has a UC client. All of the hosted providers have one, but we have a differentiating factor in Mixie. Mixie is much superior to the typical offering of the other hosted providers. Drag and drop calls, call log, presence and notes, integrated chat, call recording with the ability to cache the call recording, and then of course all of these features and functionalities are offered with the hosted, just as they are offered with our premise solutions. Call handling rules give us great flexibility. You see presence, caller ID, time and date, location, call escalation up to 16 numbers. These are capabilities within MX that are typically not found in other hosted offerings. The mobility, so everybody also has a mobility, but compare the mobility offered by the typical hosted providers versus what you'll have when using Zultys. Yeah, okay, that's a lot of slides. Okay, so everybody has mobility, right? Everybody has a UC client, but not everybody has contact center capability. This is a significant differentiation of the offering. Things like SuperView, full-time call recording, archiving, reporting. Whoops. So here's let's get into the program. This slide here, I realize it's going to be difficult to read, but this slide shows the 3 different user bundles that we have. Those of you that are familiar with our pricing understand that in our for-sale offering, in what we'll often call a premise solution, but when you buy the licensing, there are system bundles that are typical within our pricing. For our hosted offering, we have created user bundles, and we did that to create a level of simplicity, so that explanation to an end user is quick and direct. So we have 3 different types of user bundles. We have a standard user, which, as I said before, that's full call control, full telephone system, plus a mobility license. We have a premium package, and the big differentiators in the premium is that includes Mixie, it includes Outlook integration, it includes conferencing, fax, and video. So it is for a few dollars more, it is a significantly enhanced offering. And then, of course, the third user bundle is contact center, which is our premium package with our ICC license added to. Okay, let's take a look at our billing plans. Essentially, what you'll see in the billing is that it's built around whether it's a month-to-month offering or an annual commitment. Scalability, the number of users changes the price, and then the usage that's included. We have a billable plan, so no usage is offered. We have a 1,000-minute plan, and we have an unlimited plan. So the question is, what's the difference between 1,000 minutes and an unlimited plan? Well, there is no such thing as an unlimited plan in the industry, but it is marketed heavily. So that's why we included it here. If you look at all competitors, everybody's unlimited plan includes some caveat about average usage, not to exceed, that sort of thing. So we have an unlimited plan that's included here, and we're following suit with the competitors so that we can market that way. The 1,000-minute plan, we think, is the competitive offering for most regular users. The industry says that an average user in a typical business uses between 250 and 300 minutes a month. Our 1,000-minute plan is 1,000 per user, and they can be shared amongst users. Or in other words, if you have a 10-user system, you've got 10,000 minutes, of which all can be shared over the business itself. So if you look at our pricing, it's pricing is as low as $15.99 a user on a monthly basis, but it can certainly be higher. At the high end, we get up to like $32, excluding contact center. Okay, so here is another differentiating factor about our approach using the server, using VMware. We run multi-instance versus multi-tenant. Let me explain. Multi-tenant is one system serving many clients. Multi-instance is creating an independent system per client. What are the benefits there? It's security and flexibility. Flexibility in our ability to service that instance. For instance, we can upgrade one instance without changing the instance, without changing the level of software on a separate instance rather than the same server. Okay, another benefit here. This is our product. MX belongs to Zultys. It's not a product that we have bought from another manufacturer, and it's one that we are in control of the product development and the continued enhancement. Final element here. We recognize that the relationship with the end user is yours. We respect that. We like that. We want it to stay that way. Okay, so program details. You can pick any of the billing plans that you desire. You can go up and you can go down. We obviously prefer the going up part, but we realize that some businesses might be seasonal and other businesses may need to do staff reductions. So anyone that started at 50 users and needs to go to 30 can just we just do a change order to change the licensing. Same thing with going up. Okay, if any of you attended our initial webinar or our initial road trip, you heard us say that we didn't want to go below 20 users. After listening to everybody say no, that we must go lower than 20 users, we said we wouldn't go below 10 users. With our fully hosted Zultys Cloud Services offering, we have agreed now to go down to 5 users. So 5 users and up is the new rule. And no, we're not going to go down any lower. That's it. So with the program, with access to the tag funding, you can add phone and auxiliary products to the monthly bill. Our billing system will bill for the user itself, the Zultys offered user, standard, premium, or contact center. And by the way, let me say this about that. Many of the hosted guys have a user charge, and then they have a trunking charge. Comes with so many SIP trunks, or you order the number of SIP trunks you want. There really isn't any such thing as a SIP trunk. It's just usage. It's just bandwidth. And so we have no delineation in our pricing model for trunking. A user has an access. So if you have a 30-user instance, there is an ability for all 30 users to make 30 simultaneous calls. So if you want to express this for marketing purposes, this is a one-for-one configuration. So if it's 30 users, it's 30 trunks. So with the billing system, we'll bill for the user, whether it's $25 a month, and then we can build both monthly recurring charges and non-recurring charges at your direction. For instance, if you want to add a $45 setup fee per user, we can do that as a non-recurring charge. If you wanted to sell some physical equipment on a non-recurring charge, one-time charge, we can do that. If you want to rent the equipment via the tag program, we simply will just add that monthly recurring charge to the bill. Okay, so as Neil mentioned a little bit ago, commissions as high as 35% now in the greater than 300 user configuration. Okay, obviously the billings, as I mentioned earlier, the usage can go up and it can go down. And repeat myself, you own the customer, it's your customer. So to summarize this thing, what we think we have now is a complete offering by partnering with TAG, with the ability to create a monthly recurring charge for all services and functions and equipment is now supported. We appreciate this partnership. We hope that all of you as TAG members will jump on board with us and make this program succeed. Okay, so that's all I have for today, and we have time for questions and answers.
Hey, Steve, this is Gary.
Hey, Gary.
Hey, first off, great presentation. I think this program is definitely, as Dale speaks to, it could be industry changing for all the TAG members. So I appreciate that very much. Both of you guys getting together and bringing this to us. Just to go back to the, I know that probably some of this is going to be a little bit more clarified for us when we see the pricing model and all that kind of stuff coming out, the spreadsheet. But just to make sure I understand before I look at that, the 5% billing transaction fee from you guys, am I correct in saying on anything that's like a one-time charge, for example, we sell, I don't know, a paging unit or something, an IP paging unit. Well, a couple questions now that comes to mind. Let's just say it's $1,000. We're going to get billed 5% of that $1,000 on a one-time bill. Is that correct, or am I missing the boat here?
This Neil, yeah, let me just jump in here. So if you want us to build that $1,000 to the end user, then when we collect that $1,000 from the end user, we're going to take 5% of that.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that. So there's nothing saying that we can't bill them direct for that one-time service or whatever it is. But I understand that that's going to be, I mean, if we're going to roll that in and say, that's going to be, we're going to add $50 a month to your bill, for example, how does that, do we get billed 5% of the $50 a month, or do we get a one-time charge for $1,000, or is that, how does that work?
Okay, so if you're going to bill them an extra $50 for whatever you want to call it on a recurring basis,
right?
Just as a services kind of fee that you want to add in there, we're going to bill the end user for that $50 every month. We'll collect it, and then we'll pay you 95% of that.
Okay. All right.
And this is sort of a conversation that we had with Ted, is when you look at the billing and collection costs, and people want to use credit cards and everything else, I assure you we're not making any money off of that 5%.
Yeah, you don't have to explain that to me. I just want to make sure I understand that, that's not, if I go to the customer and keeping into the CTAP model of saying, not selling them a price, but selling them a payment, that, yeah, this paging system is going to cost you an additional $50 a month. I myself am not thinking, okay, great, I just got an additional $50 a month. It's going to be minus the 5%.
Right, so you're going to get somewhere around $47 and something every month out of that 50.
All right, perfect. now that I'm talking about this, and if somebody else has a question, I'm taking up the time to just butt in and tell me to shut the hell up. Adding something like that, how does that work as far as like, I know it's per user, but what if I do need like analog ports or an IP type connection for paging or those kinds of things?
Yeah, there's a line item on the code tool where you can go in and you can put a one-time charge for whatever item you want to describe.
Okay, perfect.
Or you could put a recurring amount, but either or both, come to think of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of this will be easier to understand when we see the pricing tool.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Hey guys, this is Don at Epic. Just logistically speaking, between TAG and Zultys, if we add a user or a phone, is it our responsibility to call Zultys and say, hey, add the rental fee for this phone to the deal, or is that something that TAG Capital takes care of?
Yeah, that would come directly to us.
Okay, so we just have to
Go through the calculator. It would go through the calculator, and you would order it because the customer has to sign something. So it would be the customer has to sign that they're going to be adding more income to their bill, correct?
Sure. But does TAG take responsibility for updating Zultys?
Right.
Okay.
No, actually, it's between the member and Zultys, and the background as far as the acquiring the equipment and so forth, that's between us and TAG Capital, but you won't have to be concerned about that. More or less, we'll process the orders the same way you do now.
All right. So, gentlemen, ladies, we are going to have a repeat of this web share on Thursday at 1 o'clock. So if you would like to go back through it one more time, because as anything, when you look at something, it's new, it's different, it takes a little bit of time to simulate it, process it, understand it. I would have, when we get out to Savannah, we're going to be, pretty heavily admired into this program. It's a real good opportunity to get up and running, ask questions. We got to familiarize ourselves with it. So we will repeat this web share Thursday at 1 o'clock. And if you have any further questions at that time, bring them up on that Thursday, or get hold of myself, get hold of Brian, and we'll start answering questions on an individual basis. Okay?
Just let me throw one last thing in there, and that is also if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact the Zultys Regional Sales Director.
Right.
And to participate in the program, there's a cloud services agreement with each member and us and TAG Capital that requires your signature. So contact your Zultys RSD if you have any questions as well. Back to Dale.
Okay. And then appreciate that, Neil. I didn't forget that. And one other comment here, in that the calculator, your individual Zultys rep will be able to walk you through the calculator. And Neil, we're going to have that calculator up by Monday, you think?
Yeah, this week.
Okay. Oh, this week. Okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
You can go to the calculator or the CRC.
All right, super. All right, so like I say, you got a lot of people to ask questions to. You got a lot of support in this program. We all want to see you successful with the program. So, all right, thanks for your time. We appreciate the energy and the effort here. Thanks.